Grow Great is a city government leadership podcast with Lisa Norris and me, Randy Cantrell. Each week we share insights, experiences, and wisdom to help you and your leadership grow great. Our website is growgreat.com.
All right, Lisa, I'm going to use the phrase, if you don't know, you can't. You can. Well, maybe. So I came across.
It depends, right?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. So I'd never heard this story, and it was a pretty good story about a fellow named George Dantzig, Dantzig. And so this happens in 1939. He is a graduate student. He's at the University of California in Berkeley, and he arrives to his statistics class late, and on the blackboard are two stat problems. He writes these down. He hears the lecture. There's evidently not much reference to these two problems that are written on the board during this lecture. And he leaves and he starts working on these, assuming that they are homework problems. And several days go by. It's tough as toenails, but he solves them. He solves both of them. He comes to the professor. He presents his findings, his work, and sure enough, he had solved them, only to find out that the professor tells him this wasn't homework. These have been statistical theory problems that have been unsolved, and he had solved them.
For years.
Yeah, and he went on with the encouragement of that professor and published the solutions. They became part of his PhD dissertation. And so it has provided, evidently, unbeknownst to me, it has provided this kind of motivational story that if you don't know it's impossible, then it's possible. And when I first read it, I was reminded of an economics class that I sat in. I'm a freshman. It's LSU. It's a big auditorium. It's a huge class. And the professor teases up the next class and he says, yeah, make sure that you don't miss the next class because I'm going to tell all of you how to get rich. Well, of course, we all had to attend that.
Yeah,
and
who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
So,
I wish I could have attended that one.
Yeah, now keep in mind, this is in the mid-'70s. The Vietnam War has pretty much just wound down, and America was experiencing this enormous rush of Vietnamese immigrants. And many of these people, they were called the boat people because they were just piling on to any kind of vessel that would get them here. And these people had come to America for the same reason many immigrants historically have come to America. It's a land of opportunity and the belief that anything is possible. And the professor started out by talking about some of these immigrants that had come to America in this context of the Vietnam War ending, and even back World War I era, World War II era, and coming to America and just not knowing how difficult it is to get rich, because they come to America and through their lens, man, this is the land of opportunity. Anything is possible. And if they came over here and if they just got some menial job and they saved their money, and as a result, a disproportionate, and he gave some stats at the time that I clearly don't remember, a disproportionate number of them succeeded, where those of us who were born here, who don't know anything but America, he argued, you're finding it difficult because you know how difficult it is. They come over here and they don't know. So hold those two thoughts in mind when it comes to figuring out what you can do and what you can't do. I've long argued, because I've just seen it happen over and over again, there are very few things that are more powerful than a mind made up. And it is difficult to make up your mind to do something that you genuinely don't believe you can. So I don't know. I don't know where we want to go with this, Lisa, but I think there's so many leadership lessons I think that we can learn from it.
Yeah, of course.
Not the least of which is, my favorite Jack Welch quote from GE days is control your own destiny or somebody else will. And so I'm a huge believer in personal accountability and personal responsibility, and it also speaks to that. So take it
Well,
anywhere you want to.
yeah, and it's it is so relevant in leadership generally and in teams, whether you're a team member, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're a leader, it doesn't really matter. It's exploring possibilities. And I think the hardest part that I've found is helping get people out of the mindset that it is the way it is and we need to continue the way it is. My question is always, but can we? But because they're like, well, we can't. I always say it's the no first. You mentioned you said, well, we need to explore this, and they're like, yeah, well, we've tried that before. That didn't work, and I'm like, but could we?
Yeah, but you and I are possibility thinkers, and not everybody is a possibility thinker.
But it's hard to get people to think that. Sometimes to think that way, that have been doing something a certain way for either a long time, or they just and I'll give the example to make it relevant here, because again, and I'm for those of you that are doing any kind of implementation, this is my life, so that's the stories that are coming out of it. We're implementing Workday, which is a massive system, and we're doing 21 modules of that, or 21 subsystems of that. So huge. A lot of cities do 7 or 8. We're doing 21. And I'm over that project citywide. And this is a common experience. This isn't negative to anybody involved in the project. It just isn't a great example of what we probably all face all the time. And that is, as they're going through the project, and we're in what they call work stream. So it's all these different project areas: payroll, absence, time track. I'm in the middle of one called strategic sourcing, which is a combination of the processes of purchasing and procuring goods, moving it to contract, and moving contract award to a PO, and then billing. So it's this whole process, those components. As we're setting that up, we have probably like many cities, that process is long. It's a ton of steps behind the scenes that we all have to go through, and pretty painful, and can be slow. Just because of all the hands in the pot. You're trying to work with vendors, you're trying to work with legal to get contract language they need, you're trying to work with procurement to get the goods you need, navigate the award, navigate with council. It's just a lot of steps that take a lot of time. And so we all have to do it in city government. And that process is long and arduous, and we're trying to improve it. So with Workday, I'm on this work stream because we've all got users. I've got the whole city has users, which are our leaders, that are going through this and saying, this has got to get better. It's taking us too long to move from procurement to contract. And our quotes are expiring because we only get 60-day quotes. It's taken 120 days to get us to a contract, from procurement to contract. And there's a variety of things that are problematic. The vendors are getting frustrated. Our leaders are getting frustrated. And it's kind of the nature of the beast, but we're trying to improve it where we can. All that to be said, when I'm meeting with the vendor, the implementer that's helping us, they've got a lead that's helping us navigate that. And everything normally starts with procurement. So when we're navigating this whole project, they said, okay, we have users, they are assigned to procurement. Procurement is where it starts. And then you got to go from procurement to contract. And I said, okay, since we're doing projects, and a project can be an RFP, or a project can be a bid, our airport director, who, mind you guys, is a Marine, and I love him because he's very efficient. If you need somebody to take the hill, he will take it and he will do a good job. Randy knows him well, but he has airport leases. So hangar leases that have a tenant that have to sign a contract or a lease. And then we have to send it to legal, get it signed by them potentially, and maybe not even signed by them, but they handle the template. And then it goes into right now into their file once signed, and we hold that contract. And then they have to bill for them. So they do rent every month. Well, my question was, can we add a project as a lease, an airport lease? And they're like, yeah, this system is designed to start with purchasing to contract to signatures to PO. I said, oh, I hear you and I appreciate that. But could we do an airport lease in here? And he starts the project as a user and they're like, yeah, the departments aren't users. I said, but could they be? Could he design, and it was like, well, yeah, but it's really designed to start in purchasing. And I said, I get it. And so we went through this and navigated it. And at the end of the day, I said, okay, hold on. We'll just put that aside. We'll keep moving through this process. And so I'm attending all of these meetings trying to hear it. And they're very open, but it's a process as designed. So I talked to our airport director. I said, I think I'm going to include you in this process. And he's like, what's the process? I said, well, you have these leases. I think they can be a project in this system and you can get them signed electronically. And then maybe we can figure out a way to bill through this system. It's not a PO, but it's rent. And then it can all be in Workday and you don't have to work outside the system. You can see everything inside the system. He's like, that sounds fantastic. And I said, well, I think I might put you on the project. So I mentioned this to this team. I said, I may put our airport director in here. And they're like, it's not really a user. He's a stakeholder. And I said, I think I want him to be a user, So it's just navigating this different way of doing things. And and I just keep saying, can we? It may not at the end of the day work, but I need you to show me it can't work before you tell me it can't work, right? Yeah. I need to understand that. And I've got a guy that I know if there is a way, he will find it and he will make it efficient and he will challenge thought to make it work from a legal perspective, from a system perspective, because his goals are my goals. We want it efficient. We want to use one system, not 10. And if we can make it work, let's explore it. And then he can say, Lisa, it's not going to work. Or 80% of it will work, which is better than 0%. If 80% of it can be in the system, then let's do that. And maybe the 20%, maybe we can't do billing, right, for leases instead of a PO. But what if we could? Why wouldn't we want to navigate that? And sometimes that change, and I always equate it to this, as you're talking about that, the problem that they said can't be solved, you get the right person, I think some problems can be solved. They just have to be different thinkers. They just have to see possibilities and explore those and navigate them. And if we can get those thinkers and the possibility thinkers in our teams, you aren't going to have a bunch of them because it's a rare trait. But you get one or two, and boy, the trajectory of the power of a high-performing team goes way up because they are going to question, why can't we? Why can't we try that? And that is a powerful question that I think has to be explored and can really lead you far. And you know what? Sometimes the answer is we can't, but here's why. But we explored it. And it's just, this is not the system for us. And that may be the case at the end of the day here, but they haven't solidified in my mind, we truly can't yet anyway.
Yeah. And that's the frustration for people like you and me, people that are possibility thinkers. I'll speak for myself. I mean, I get frustrated with people that don't even want to give it a go.
Yeah.
It's just a hard no. And they really haven't tried. But you find this increasingly, I see it especially in more narrow and technical subject matter experts, because quite frankly, and this is no knock on them, it's just, and some of the most capable people suffer from this in the technical areas. They know what they know, and they've kind of lost their naive curiosity, is what I've called it, which I think has huge value for leaders. If you can maintain, as a leader, if you can maintain your naive curiosity to ask these questions and pose these things that seem impossible to other people, it just makes you wonder what is possible. Lisa has seen me do this. I will pretty regularly, if I'm addressing any kind of a group, I'll ask for a show of hands. How many people most of the goals that you've set, the dreams that you've had, that you've pursued, you would say that you have achieved those. And almost invariably, 100% of the time when I ask it, almost every hand, if not every hand, goes up. And then I'll follow it up and I'll ask, it kind of makes you wonder if we're dreaming big enough, doesn't it? Kind of makes you wonder if we're aiming high enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can say in my life, the things that I have set about to achieve, and I don't mean the dreams that I've had, the fantasies, the imaginations. I'm talking about the pursuits. I've largely reached those.
Right.
You have too. And most high performers that I talk to have. So it does kind of speak to this whole story of this George Dantzig, you know, and whatever they term this thing that happened in 1939, and here we are in 2025. And I don't know. I wonder about you and me and all the people that we know and that we work with, of what we're capable of if we'll just make up our mind to do it. Listen, I got an email just yesterday from somebody that talked about imposter syndrome and talked about not feeling worthy about things. And I think all of us can be subject to that. But on the flip side, there can be huge power in maybe questioning whether or not you fit in and being able to ask the questions that other people just aren't brave enough to ask, simply because they're too deep into it. Right. So here comes Lisa doing a major implementation. She's not done anything in this scale before. And so she's got fresh eyes looking at this thing. But I can promise you, the person that is like, no, it's not meant to, she's done this before. And so she thinks she knows.
Yeah.
And she may, to your point, she may be right.
Mm-hmm.
But she may just be stuck in a lane that she's been playing in for a long, long time. And she's not thinking the way you're thinking. She's not approaching it the way you're approaching it.
And often what I understand too, and I think truly happens, first it's an implementation and they have a goal in mind. Get it done.
Yeah, finish line.
Marked off the list.
Yep.
Get to the finish line. We've got 9 other projects we need to start on time. And this one just needs to be rolled off. That could be part of it. It could be they truly don't see how it could work yet. Or it could truly be, it can't work, and I don't understand it. Lisa Norris doesn't understand it yet. And I just ordered a desk plaque. I wish I had brought it in today. It's at the house. I forgot to grab it. I ordered it, and it says, start with a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to tell my team and so many people I work with, don't tell me how it can't. Let's think about how it can. Let's explore that. It's very easy to say it can't. And typically it's time and effort. Time and effort. If we have to start exploring that, it's going to inevitably slow it down. But to your point, you have to go slow to go fast, right? I mean, we have to slow down to how can we make this better on the output, and why not explore that? So let's start with a yes. I believe it. I think we need to start with, let's say it can do it. Now where do we go with that? How would that work if we can do it? Right? And it's time and energy, and it may slow us down a bit, but so you're telling me I can't? Well, then I'm going to get the person on the bus that I know can. Right? Do they want that person on the bus right now? They do not.
No.
Because it is going to slow it down. But I said, well, we're creating projects. I'll just add him. He'll create the project. He'll just create his. You guys create yours. At least we have a user now knowing. And if anything, at the end of the day, he'll be our advocate that says, guys, we tried it. It does not work it does not work that way. And I've been in there, and if I can't figure it out for this project, it's not possible now. Could be down the road. Maybe they expand it. Maybe they do something else. But if it can, he'll also be my advocate and say, no, have you thought about? You can do this.
Yeah,
Let's create that.
my money's on Mark, the airport director.
My money is on Mark too.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet it can be done. Well, and here's the other thing that does speak directly to city government is what's our fiscal responsibility here. We've got a city that's making a massive investment in technology, and so do we really want to have some other parallel system outside that system for this one-off thing?
Yeah.
That could have, if we would have slowed down long enough, could have possibly been incorporated in this thing, because I don't know, the life expectancy of a big ERP these days, I don't know.
At least 10 years. Ours is 10 years. We projected a 10-year plan.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah,
so,
at least.
So we're not going to put in some effort on the front end for something that's going to have a 10-year life expectancy at least. Well, that's just fiscally irresponsible. And so
it comes down to, and this happens in any team. I'm sure as people are listening to this, implementation is my example today. But so many of us, as we're exploring Find a Yes, it's the time and effort. Some others sometimes on your team don't want to do it either. It slows it down. I just want to get it marked off my list. My to-do list is growing. Let's just move through this. We'll do it later. Does later ever happen? No, you've got to attack it while it's fresh, while it's green, and while everybody's in the same place. Let's just attack it now and navigate that moving forward. So it's the time and energy, starting with that yes, to do it while it's fresh and while it's on your mind, or it often just doesn't happen. And the great news here is, even if everybody doesn't see it, who does that benefit? How much could this benefit, one, the implementer? And you know what? Grand Prairie or whomever had an idea. And we've now found, yes, that can work. So the people in front of us that they go to next, yes, we've seen that happen. Yes, we've made it happen. Yes, it can work outside the system. It gives them more ideas, more power, more opportunities to address more issues down the road. For our team, we've solved an internal issue. We've gotten rid of a third-party system, potentially, and we've gotten billing. And for the team, you have just demonstrated where possibilities work. And why can't we? It's that simple.
Thanks for watching and listening to Grow Great, the City Government Leadership Podcast. Our website is growgreat.com. For Lisa Norris, I'm Randy Cantrell. We hope you'll subscribe to the show, and we hope you'll tell a friend.